Good morning, dear beloveds. It is my absolute privilege to be here with you on this fairly cold spring morning here in Melbourne. I am thoroughly enjoying being wrapped up nice and warm inside my lovely little house right now, and not sad about not having to go outside at all, although I would like some more spring. So I am here today because I want to have a chat about the way that we can embody some very key archetypes. These three archetypes are central to all of the work that I do. And I wanted to have a conversation about them because it's an interesting paradigm to work with a holy trinity in the way that we do in the Institute rather than one or the other. And the three of these archetypes together, for my experience and the way that I work and the way that I train the women in the Institute to work, create such a powerful trinity, a holy trinity that represents so much more than any one of these on their own might do. So if you've spent any time hanging around here or in the Institute, you'll know that our Holy Trinity is the Priestess Mystic Leader. And for a while there, I did kind of privilege the priestess alone and speak to her. And then I realized as the work continued to grow and develop that really what we do inside the container of the Institute, and more specifically the third level, is so much more than just the priestess archetype alone. I was spending some time with my beautiful lawyer this morning, Michelle Whitehead, who is just a truly holistic and deeply spiritual person, which is why she is the Institute's lawyer, and someone I really value as a person. And she said, "So, who do you serve, Ricky? What's your statement, your mission statement?" And I'm going to share it here because I love it, and I think we really do articulate these archetypes at the center of what we do, but I want to break them down a little bit and talk about how and why we can embody them and why I believe that these are the Holy Trinity for our time. So we lead the revolution in the intuitive sciences by training spiritually fierce women with an X, so we are inclusive in that statement of trans, non-binary, as well as cis women. And we lead the revolution in excellence in the intuitive sciences by training spiritually fierce women as new paradigm priestesses, contemporary mystics, and socially conscious sacred leaders. And that really is everything that we stand for. And when I was creating this statement and really getting clear on the definitions, I made sure that I was representing all of that and making sure that I understood the words that I was using. I think whenever we are writing our own personal mission statement or for our service, clarity of your use of words is so important. So let's have a look at them, and let's have a look at why they matter to me, and how I think we can, really see these are the archetypes for our time as women who are called to the path of service at this time on earth. All three need to be represented. So new paradigm priestess, where are we with that? What does that mean, Ricky? Well, we understand the concept of the priestess is an ancient archetype, that women have embodied the priestess through, millennia, through all human history and all different civilizations, and in different ways we've inhabited that role. Like many things, though, for me, this archetype is one that has been innovated in our age now. And women are waking up to this archetype, much like the witch archetype, in a very new way. And whilst we can draw on the lineage and the legacy of what this priestess archetype means, for me and the way that we activate her in the Institute, it is beyond the trinkets and superstitions. It's beyond outmoded rituals and the secrecy. Once upon a time, women had to hide their spirituality and their power as healers from the world, and that's why we understand this from the witch burnings, that there was a great sense of secrecy and mystery around the archetypes of the witch and the priestess. And for me, they are very interchangeable because both are those who privileged an understanding of the mystery at the center of their being and did that in service to others, in temples and in covens and in secret places. But this new paradigm is one in which women can can step into this role without fear. And even though we may carry the ancestral trauma within us, it's our task now to clear that trauma of the ways that we've had to be in secret, and to really step into our service without fear of being persecuted or prosecuted in the ways that we once were, because we are in a new paradigm. So the priestess in this paradigm is the woman on fire with purpose, in service to the greater good, and she will step into that role in many, many different ways, not just through the rituals of secret, lineages that are now no longer necessary. We do not need to be protected by them, but as the teacher, as the mother, as the healer, as the in the writer, as the entrepreneur, in any capacity, the priestess is one who puts service at the heart of her being and steps into the world to alleviate the suffering of others. She's in service to her community, and she sees something so much more about her reality than just what can I get, but rather what can I give. And that really typifies the new paradigm priestess for me, is that her desire is to be in service in that way that is creating a better reality for all. So part of that, of course, is that we cannot be in hiding about our spirituality. And if we're in our spiritual closet, it's very hard to be, leading from that place. And I'm trying not to use the word leader yet, because I want to get to that archetype after we speak about the mystic. But you see how interconnected they are. When we awaken, when we go on this journey of self-awakening, it is our divine responsibility. And we include a beautiful quote from Caroline Myss on the Third Level website, to this very point, that the mystic priestess leader's task is to activate her soul, and I'm paraphrasing here, and to put it into a radical form of service to others. So you see, if you're in hiding about your sacred nature, about your spirituality, if you're thinking that it can still be something you do when nobody knows about it, you're not going to make anyone uncomfortable by speaking about what you believe, then you're acting in bad faith, because it is our task when we awaken to allow others to awaken because of who and what we are. Now, as I said, it's not in what you do, and I'm not asking you to get on your soapbox, but rather not to resist your own true nature because you're afraid of other people's opinions. And the mystic really is this beautiful example of that. The mystic in the contemporary age is not cloistered away in, once again, in monasteries or temples, meditating for 20 hours a day and leaving the world of the material plane behind. Very much like the priestess, the contemporary mystic is integrating her devotion into her daily life. So therefore, it does not matter what you do. The mystic makes holy whatever it is that she does by bringing that holy mystical perspective to the world. And once again, this is that radical form of action. It's an active spirituality. It isn't passive. It isn't about just self-soothing, making yourself feel better that you're, ticked a box because you did your meditation in the morning, but actually to recognize that your holiest task is to cultivate a vibrational state that serves the cosmos, that serves your brothers and sisters, that allows all to be elevated because you have taken the time to elevate your frequency through your devotion, and then to put that into the world in a radical form of service, as Caroline Myss says, is that once again we see very much like the priestess task, when we have a responsibility to lead with our divinity when we awaken to the truth of what we are. And that may feel like I'm sort of putting this weight of responsibility on you, but I guess I really am. I feel that it's an indulgence, it's narcissistic, and it is acting in bad faith. It's breaking the law when we simply use our spirituality to self-soothe, to get stuff for ourselves, to use the law of attraction, whatever that is, to just kind of manifest stuff to make our own little lives better. That is really the opposite of why we awaken. We awaken to understand oneness, unity consciousness, to recognize there's only one of us here, and therefore what we want for ourselves, if we don't want it for all, then we do see how we are then betraying the law of oneness, of mentalism, that first law. So we then lead quite naturally and effortlessly to the leader. And anyone you will now see in this philosophy of the Priestess Mystic Leader who steps into the world in her sacredness is a leader, because you are one of the first to do that. Now, you might look around and say, everyone I know is spiritual, everyone's, doing this, but it's not true. We live in an echo chamber. We largely surround ourselves with people who think the same way as us, and that's completely fine. But the majority of the planet is still sitting in suffering, in darkness, in fear, in doubt, and doesn't know how to access what we may have had privilege to access that others have not had. And so our holy task is, if we are on this path, to put ourselves into that role of leader fearlessly, to be unafraid to say, yes, I am a sacred leader, because what I do for myself, I do for all. And that is the law, yes? That we are simply one consciousness, and that consciousness is elevated by us being willing to elevate ourselves and to know that that is the blessing to all those around us. This leadership always is self-leadership. Not only because there is only one of us here, but because without congruence, if we're saying one thing and doing another, we are once again breaking the law. We're behaving in a way that is going to cause us more harm than good, because we can't fool the universe, the cosmos. These laws that govern us are completely impartial. It's not like, well, she was good yesterday and she's got good intentions, so even though she's not actually walking her talk, it isn't enough. We need to be willing to show up. And that really is, you know, where this sense of being held and scaffolded is so important, because when we feel we're doing this on our own, it can feel very burdensome and overwhelming. But when we understand that we're part of a collective and that there is a consciousness awakening, and we can tap into that at lots of different levels, and certainly coming into third level is an incredible scaffold for us to step into our Priestess Mystic Leader. But in so many ways, we can see when we stop thinking in this separation mentality and we start embodying the truth that there's only one of us here, we will no longer shy away from the weight of responsibility. We will understand that responsibility is also a great privilege and a great blessing, and that we will want to show up in the fullest expression of who and what we are. Yes, we will want to put down our littleness and step into our gloriousness, not as an egoic act, but because to do that is to give others permission to do that. And surely that is what a leader is beyond all else, is that their example, not what they say, but their example inspires greatness in others. And so when you shift your perception perhaps away from this fear that the leader is power over, to think instead the leader is one who empowers others. Marianne Williamson has a beautiful quote that says, the leader is one who can see the brilliance in the other, and to inspire, to create the conditions through your own lived existence that we are able to see others step into their own gloriousness just because we exist, not because we're trying to poke them or prod them or force them to do it. It's a truly beautiful way to live. And that's why I believe this combination of these archetypes is what we are birthing into consciousness right now. And for those women called to this path, it's not one or the other, it is all. And while we may naturally feel drawn to one over the other, when we bring all into balance, we will find that our power to serve is exponentially increased, because we are operating from this very, very powerful intersection of these energies. So I'd love us to just have a little opportunity together now, if you're interested, to deepen into your own relationship with the Priestess Mystic Leader archetype within you. And I'm just going to take us into a very brief but very potent visualization, so you can connect, anchor into the energy of the Priestess Mystic Leader within you, and to allow her to lead if that feels appropriate for you at this time in your life. So if you're safe to do so, I'm going to invite you to close down your eyes. And if not, just soften your gaze just gently in front of you, withdrawing your attention from the superficial world. And taking a deep breath in through the nose, letting it go out through the mouth, letting go, letting go. Letting go of all the effort required to bring you to this moment in your day. As we merge now, for the first time, or perhaps just deepening into the Priestess Mystic Leader, that holy trinity within us, to activate her, to be unafraid, to step into our sacred gloriousness in service to the greater good. I invite you now to take 2 fingers or the palm of your hand to the center of your chest. And just feel that touch signifying to your consciousness that we defer now to the wisdom of our heart's intuitive intelligence. You might notice that symbol of that trinity, a beautiful golden triangle at your heart center. You may see it as though it's rotating, shimmering, illuminating golden light throughout your entire heart center. This is her sacred symbol. All sides equal. Now see yourself standing inside of that symbol. You may feel as though it's now a 3D pyramid. And you're standing right at the center underneath the apex of that pyramid. This pyramid at the center of your heart. And you feel now that beam of golden light pouring in through the opening at the top of that pyramid, pouring down and bathing you inside, outside, every cell illuminated by this golden light. And as you stand here with your hand over your heart, infused with this most holy light, you notice someone walking towards you. You feel their benevolence, their power, their humility, their grace. And they stop right in front of you now. Notice their age, color of their hair, what they're wearing, their manner. You feel deeply connected to this person, to this energy. Your Priestess Mystic Leader. And with your permission, they place their hand over your hand on your heart now. And you feel yourself receiving a transmission of these qualities, of this humility, grace, power. And perhaps some other qualities specific to your Priestess Mystic Leader. Perhaps joy, vitality, wisdom, playfulness, seriousness. Just notice what qualities they are transmitting to you now. to activate even more deeply your Priestess Mystic Leader. And when you feel this is complete, you notice that they remove their hand now. And you both thank one another, perhaps bowing your head in gratitude for their presence here today. And thanking yourself for being willing to receive this transmission to deepen into your power to serve. And lowering your hands to your lap, taking a deep breath in, and when you're ready, letting it go out through your mouth, and opening your eyes, bringing some gentle movement back. And I invite you now to record anything that you experienced in that visualization, writing it down, noticing the qualities that were presented by your Priestess Mystic Leader and anything else you might have received in that transmission. We identify that formula, if you like, of the humility with the priestess, grace with the mystic, and power with the leader. And when we understand how this formula, if you like, the one leads to the other, we understand how we can be in right action with this archetype, not to be replicating the models of power over, the advantage taking that we so often associate with powerful people, to actually be unafraid of our own power and to recognize that our power is God's power and that infinite consciousness that is within us and all around us. When we are humble enough to let that lead, we are not in our ego, we're actually in our holiness. And that is what grace feels like, to lead from that place. It's been absolutely glorious to share that with you. That energy was just so luscious and divine for me, and you can revisit that at any time, of course. And we are in the interview period, or very soon in the interview period, for the next intake of the third level beginning in February 2021. And I'll share the details for the interviews with you in the link here. We have already booked out our interview times for November. It's a very exciting response that we're seeing, and I'm not surprised. I said this recently, just a few days ago. You know, this is the Renaissance. This is the time of the emergence of these archetypes, and we are being called into radical action. And I'm so excited to see so many women identifying with these archetypes and recognizing their desire to increase their power to serve through this incredible Holy Trinity. So I'll share the information here. Please let me know if you have any questions at all, of course, and thank you so much for joining me. Have a beautiful day wherever you are, beautiful weekend, and I'll see you all very soon. All my love.